Alright ladies and gentlemen, the Alpha Strike Major update is now officially out. No aim 120, more premiums to play the high tier matches, a few abominations to fill in between the lines, and of course Italy gets a new batch of copycat planes. Ariete is still an awful tank with a long reload. There is a new bug that makes your tank do a 180 degree quick scope like the good old days, and of course the chat is unavailable. As of 2 hours ago, at the time of recording this video, the chat is now back, but since it's not the first time Gaijin is doing this, and it surely won't be the last time, let's discuss it. Now, one part of the argument is that why a video game like Warthunder that falls under the category of MMOs, or massively multiplayer online games, which practically make it a social game, even dares to remove general chat. Like, if this is the standard we're setting that every time something pops up in Russia or somewhere else, Gaijin should take away the ability to communicate, how is this reasonable? We all witnessed the amount of hate that Battlefield 2042 got because it lacked in-game chat. It's one thing that you allow people to talk to each other, but you make it as minimalistic as possible in your user interface. Or you might want to take the approach of disabling all chat by default, but giving the players the option to enable it. Similar to how profanity filters work in War Thunder and other games. But to remove it entirely is just crazy. And I totally get some of the arguments people make against all chat in video games, that most of the time it's used for flaming others and being toxic. I mean, sure, but that doesn't mean anything. It's like saying we should ban all sorts of weaponry including knives because their ultimate goal is to hurt people. Hell no, dude. What if I wanted to peel some potatoes? What if I wanted to cut some meat? So I won't even use the argument that you're a bunch of snowflakes and the fact that you really should get out there and touch some grass if people can get to you through War Thunder chat. Gaijin is surely at fault here. The fact that they do this often is surely a major problem that will encourage people to talk even more about world events in the old chat. But Gaijin is a private company. They can do whatever they want with their game. We can criticize them and we should, but end of the day they can remove all chat completely and people couldn't really do anything about it. My problem is not Gaijin here. It's the contrarian people who do their utmost to be so ignorant and make excuses for removing general chat in an MMO game. Let's check some of the arguments by the community. I much prefer Steam forums of War Thunder simply because it's a much more realistic representation of the community compared to Reddit and War Thunder official forums, which are made of mostly terminally online people with a sunk cost fallacy complex defending every wrong decision that Gaijin makes. Alright, let's dive in. Everyone who says that radial menu is bad and pings aren't enough needs to touch some grass. Radial menu is okay, pings are enough. If people are willing to get info, they will pay attention to flashing marks on their screen and audio cues. If they are not, they will happily ignore your tactical input, written in a chat where someone writes something actually useful once a month at best. Well, first of all, there might be some truth to what you're saying, Mr. Rinky, but I personally use chat for many reasons. I do the typical taunting stuff. And a lot of times I use it to teach my teammates and even enemies their mistakes. Like how they shouldn't use their smoke once they got an engine shot in middle of an open field with a functional turret. Or how trying to capture the objective in the TDM game mode will only result in them being trapped and their location revealed to the enemy. And the funny thing is, most of my friends in War Thunder were actually on enemy's side when we met. And even if the chat is only used for shit talking and being toxic, you are free to use some of the options that are already available in War Thunder, to hide chat window or limit it to your team. So your whole argument, while it might have a fraction of truth in it, doesn't mean anything in contrast to Gaijin removing a bare minimum feature just because you have failed to utilize it. Yo, I gotta say, this guy is the funniest one. Oh no, I'm playing the social. I rarely play War Thunder outside of a squad who I coordinate closely with, without in-game chat. The only thing that in-game chat allows one to do that isn't already implemented in the game is telling teammates to fuck off, which isn't all that constructive. But again, you continue to be an excellent example of a typical user of in-game chat. I honestly don't know when autism became a sign of genius, but let me tell you, Mr. Top, you are not as smart as you might think. You can only play War Thunder with a full sweat loader squad, coordinating closely, changing position every time you shoot, peak Germany and Sweden together in top tier, and move with your squad holding hands. Stream your games on your second monitors on Discord for more efficient communication. Heck, you can put on webcam as well, just in case you guys have trouble communicating and need facial expressions on top of it. They're all gonna work just fine. Until you go against a maniac like me, who will rush your positions while blasting 7's music, ruin your whole squad's day, and get away with it. Again, your argument is just as stupid as the rest of the people who is defending this. People don't always choose their friends for efficiency and how good they are in video games. Most of the times people just wanna have fun. And chat allows people who are more social to interact with each other and make friends, and it's arguably much more effective in humanizing and focusing on the fun part of playing against each other. This guy makes a great argument. I don't know how many of you guys have played Battlefield 2042. The game felt so dead. not only because it was actually dead and all the matches were filled with bots, but rather because there was no option to talk to your teammates or your enemies. You might be someone who never talks to other people. You might be someone who despises the very concept of chatting with strangers. But it's still the possibility, the subconscious realization that you can communicate whenever you want, that you are playing against real humans. These are all feelings and enjoyments that work around and based on a very fundamental aspect of online multiplayer games, the game chat. So I will never accept any of your subpar arguments about this, especially while I have so many friends that I talk to on a daily basis and plan to visit that live in other countries, people that I met over this game. I have friends from the Middle East, Russians, Serbians, Americans, and the list goes on. I even have friends from countries that are considered sworn enemies of my country. You idiots need to realize the power of the internet. We might be playing war games and have an obsession with military machinery, but these games are the very same reason that we are so close to each other. That I know if tomorrow there is a war between our countries, I won't have any hatred for their people, and no government can force me to shoot my friends to achieve their political ambitions. So if you have anything against my argument and you will vouch for games removing in-game chat and replace it with awful template messages, I suggest you to get a grip, grow a backbone, and have some decency and resilience. This is Gorilla Scientist. Thanks for watching, and be seeing you.